Hey everybody, welcome to Drive-Thru Review 657. Today we're going to take a look at a game called Slide Quest. This is coming out from Blue Orange Games, and this is a very interesting dexterity game. It plays 1 to 4 players, and you're going to actually be using the box and sort of using these levers inside of the box and manipulating this kind of game level, and you're going to maneuver this knight around to sort of get to his quest objective. So, not a very good explanation. But let's go ahead and jump in and look at how the game works a little bit, and then I'll come back and give you my thoughts on it. Okay, so this is a little tricky of a game to show you here. So what this is you are sending this knight on a quest through various different worlds and levels. And you can see he's got a little roller ball on the bottom of him there. So we're just going to put him here. Now there's a ton, there's less than a ton. There's 20 levels. And you can see by the back here, like these bright yellow ones here, this is number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. These all belong to the same world here. Now the piece of cardboard I have there belongs to, I think, number 18 or 17, number 17, and it's part of these the black world here. And this is the more difficult world. So the objective of the game is to choose one of these worlds based on your difficulty level that you want, and play through all 5 of the levels in that world. Each of the worlds has 5 levels. And then you can see on the levels there's like different holes and other things like this. And so it tells you, see if I can zoom in a little bit here. You can see I've punched in these little like barricades and things like that. So it tells you where stuff goes. So you have like little walls and things. Sometimes you have like little arches and so on. And also in this particular case, I've got little rocks, little sticks of dynamite, and these little kind of minions there. That I have to contend with. And you may even have kind of the arch villain here on some levels like that. And then you're going to get a certain number of lives here. So if you decide to make the game more or less difficult, you can start with a certain number of life points there. And let's say we'll pick it on sort of the medium here with 4. And then each time you sort of like die or screw up, and then that will kind of vary depending on the level, you're going to lose a life point like that. And then if you lose all of them, you've got to start over, go back to the first level of your world, and try to do it again. If you die during the course of the, trying to complete one of the levels, then you just put the guy here back at the starting point, and then try to go again. Now, if you lose all the way and you want to kind of save it or something like that, or let's say you get all the way through. So let's say we get to level 4 of that world, and we have 2 life points left. You can use this little dial thing here just to kind of save your game, and just leave it in your box. So instead of writing it down and just sticking it on a piece of paper, they give you this little dial here, which is cool. I just hope you don't bump it. And then there's also another piece, which I'm not going to show you, but I have played with. There's actually an app that you can get for your phone to do some different quest modes, and basically they're different timers that you can use to go through the different worlds. But let's look at how the game plays. So, like I said, this is a really hard level that I've not actually ever attempted. So I figured this would be kind of fun. I've only played through the first 5 worlds, and then also through them, playing through them timed with the different timers that are available in the app. Is way better timed. I'll talk about it in the review there. But you don't have to play it timed if you want to be real careful. So I'm not timing this. And so what you're going to do is so one player will have 1 lever, and the other player will have another one. That's if you're playing with 4 players. Each player will get a lever. If you have 2 players, then you can each get 2. Maybe I get the 2 on this side and Billy gets the 2 over there. Or you could even solo it if you're an insane person and you try to do all 4 levers. But when you're doing it solo, I would say probably play with it timed. Otherwise, you could just go boop, 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 and just move them really slowly, and that's not really that fun. So obviously, when you lift up this lever, this lifts up the board, and he's going to slide in that direction. So if I did this one, it's going to make him slide that way. If I did both levers, it's going to make him sort of, oh, there he died. So he's going to make him go kind of diagonal. So in that case, I would lose a life point, just kind of reset up, set the board back to how it's supposed to go. Now there's a couple of different objectives. A lot of times you'll see these paths here, and so you have to kind of go this way. So you've got to go in between certain markers, like in between these 2 rocks. You can't go around this way like that, or then like in this case you've got to go around here, this hole, to get it to to succeed. You can't just shortcut right to the end. So you can see here, this is 17. The objective is to get this guy all the way over to 18. What you could do just by hugging the wall and going around this way. Oh, I forgot a little barrier there. That makes more sense. So, yeah. So sometimes there's a specific path, sometimes there's not. The objective, though, if there are these creatures on the board, is to knock them into the holes. Now, in this particular one, these numbers actually matter. So this is number 1, and you can see maybe if that is hole number 1, and there's number 2 right there, and he's got to go in that hole. So sometimes you have to knock them into very specific places, and the order that you knock them in sometimes will matter. Sometimes you got to knock all of the minions in before you knock the main villain in, and so on. So it is pretty methodical. It's not just kind of go crazy and stuff. So we're going to kind of try to go this way. So he's going to kind of come down that way, right? We'll give him a little bit of room there, and then we'll try to knock him like that. Knock him in. Oh no, too far. I'm sure this is super exciting for people. Knock him in. Knock him in. Go, go, go. Yep, good job. Now we got to go around. You can kind of see what I'm doing here. Now add a timer and try to get this done in like a minute or 2 minutes or 30 seconds on some of the easier ones like that. Go around this way. Whoop. So it's super fun. I'm just going to tell you that right now. So anyway, that's basically the game. Let's go ahead. It's pretty simple, but you know, these maps kind of change up things and all this kind of stuff. So let's see what I think. Okay, so that is Slide Quest. This game's awesome. It's really fun. It's dead simple. It's just pure dexterity. It's great. I can go through my pillars of reviews, which I will. This to me is a quintessential kind of like family game. Although, because it has a sort of leveling up and stuff that you can go through, you know, if you've got like a more serious gamer group or just folks in your family that are more serious, then you can start to, you know, play through and level up and, you know, do all that kind of fun stuff. As far as the player count goes, yeah, you know, I don't know that it really honestly, this is one of those things that always kind of, for this one, it 100% is true, and a lot of times it's true for a lot of games, is the player count doesn't really matter here. You just need 4 people if you're playing with 4 people that have a good attitude. And if you're playing with 2 people, then you need to cooperate. So this is very much a communication game. Because, you know, it's like Joel's turn, you know, because you're constantly communicating. Okay, Joel, you push. Okay, I'll go. And then you try to go to the diagonal, and it's like, you know, he's off. And then, you know, you kind of feel each other out, you know, in a way. So as long as you've got people that are invested, you know, in the experience, it's going to be fine at any player count. Because it can be sometimes with 4 players where it's like, you know, me and Billy are doing stuff because we're doing this, and it's taken us a while. And maybe the other players aren't really that involved. You know, they're not using the lever as much. But then as we move around the board, it's going to, you know, make them involved. So if some players are like taking a really long time, then maybe that could be a little frustrating for other players. But there's a solution to that. And that is the timer as far as the app goes. But I'm going to get to that in a minute. So there's your player count. The play time, it's just a couple of minutes per level at most. Especially if you use the timer, which we'll talk about in a minute. And then finally, what is this game like? No idea. There used to be that old like Labyrinth game, which I think was a solo game. And I don't know that I actually owned that game, although I remember playing it a few times as a kid. I think maybe at like a friend's house. Because I'm trying to rack my brain. And I'm like, God, I know I played it. But I'm sure I didn't own it. And if you remember from like the 70s, I think, and the 80s, you had this thing where you had like a little marble ball that you used and you tried to get through this maze. But it was like 1 level, I think. I don't remember. This is just like that, except it's multiplayer. And that other game might have been multiplayer. I really don't remember. But I remember the game distinctly, playing it alone. So it's just like that. But it also reminds me of a game that came out from Blue Orange called Doodle Quest a couple of years ago, where you had these like multiple levels and stuff that you could put on, and then you drew on it. And I did a review for that too. So go look up Doodle Quest. But this it's very much in that vibe, you know, very kind of cartoony video game, Mario Brothers sort of, you know, jazzy feel to it. And this has a little bit of a fantasy element as well. But you know, that's kind of gives you a little bit of a ballpark of the flavor of it. But really, I've not really ever played a game quite like this with the levers. Although I think I've seen this lever thing here somewhere else, I'm not sure, but I'm just in passing, I guess. But I really like this game. It's super fun, and this is one of the best games I played this year. Honestly, it's so super fun. I would say you can play it a couple times without the timer, just so you can kind of get the hang of it. But then you can really game it, where you're just like inching the guy along, like and it's like, okay, at the higher levels, you're still gonna want to do that, but once you add the timer in, that just makes it way better, because there's some things where you're like, we gotta go for it. So you're just, and then the more players at the table, it just gets insane, because it's like everybody's like, no, you go, you know, it just like the thing blows up. The guy goes in the hole, you knock the monster into the wrong hole, you know, whatever the thing is. But adding the timer element is really good. So I can see a solid group kind of dedicate themselves to this game, to really kind of play through each of the worlds and each of the levels and get really good at it, get really, time it really well. And even kind of just, you can get rid of the whole life thing. I could see sort of like, okay, keep the timer, get rid of the lives, and just try to beat each level within the given amount of time. There's little things where you can like roll the guy over a heart and then you get a life back and stuff like that. So I would say none of that I would play too hard with. I'd be pretty fast and loose with that and just kind of adapt this game to your group. There's no reason to be really hard and fast with any of this. But for my personal taste is I would just play this with a group and just use the timer in the app and just try to beat each level within the time and then move on. Not worry about how many times we fell in the hole and then have to restart the whole world over and all that kind of stuff. Whatever. Yeah, it's super fun. It's just amazing fun. This is such an ingenious little thing. You know, you get the different maps, the different characters and minions and stuff that you're going to interact with. You know, there's different objectives. Some is just get through this. Some is like go and knock these things out, or do both, or whatever. Knock them out in a certain order. You know, don't knock the dynamite over. All that kind of fun stuff. So there's a lot to it. It's got the cool little widgets you plug in, which is just really neat. It just visually looks cool. You know, you're shooting this knight through this archway, and then you have to bank him hard around these rocks, and so he doesn't fall into this pit. Really, really neat. This is a high recommend. I think any level of group is going to like this. Like I said, you can tailor it. You don't have to use the timer. If you got little kids, just forget about lives and just try to beat the level. Play it a couple of times and play the easy stuff, and you get him into it. And then if you've got like a hardcore group of just, people that want to be awesome at slide quests, be tournament players, then you could go after it and play it that way and play with the different timers. In the app, there's a couple of timers. There's like I don't remember what it's called. You have like the leveling mode and the quest mode, and one is harder than the other. And it keeps track of your life in the app too, so you don't have to use the little cardboard thing there as well. So if you want to do that. So I definitely recommend folks do try to download the app and play with that, because that's my preferred personal way to play the game. So that is Slide Quest. Definitely give it a look. Definitely worth your money. Lots of replayability and variety and all that fun stuff. Thanks.